to the channel, friends. Sorry for the delay in the upload this week. It's been a lot of work on this truck over the last almost 10 days now. I've gone ahead and redone a ton, and that's what I want to go over today is the current suspension setup, the new wheels and tires, which I'm oh so excited to really get in there and show you. And I just want to tell you a little bit about how I've got this truck to sit the way it sits now, all the different bits and pieces, components that I've needed to upgrade or change out to get it to drive well, and then also get the stance of it the way I want it to look, both suspension wise and wheels and tires. So let's just start walking around this thing, and we'll probably start with the wheels and tires, and then I'll dive into the suspension because there's a lot of modifications that had to happen to make this truck sit the way it's sitting now. So the newest upgrade this week has been much needed new tires, and I went ahead and put new wheels on because didn't love the old wheels and figured I'd pay once to have new tires mounted onto some fresh wheels instead of putting new tires on the old ones and then later on getting new wheels and moving these tires over. So one and done kind of deal. But these are Wild Peak AT4s. They are a 33-inch tire, 285, 75, 16 is what I'm running. They're basically the same tire as the one I was running before, which was the same size, but a Nitto Terra grappler. And the old wheels were also 16-inch wheels. So same tire size, just a different tire. The last tires I had were probably, I think they were manufactured in 2014, so they were plenty dry rotted, and then also had about maybe 20% tread left on it. So these ones are fresh. They're mighty heavy, I'll tell you that much. The new tires, I think, weigh in without the wheels close to 70 pounds. The wheels itself came in at about 18 pounds, which was remarkably lightweight for what they were. So these are SCS Stealth Custom Series wheels in a 16x8 with a -25 offset, and gives it a pretty stancy look. The tires come out a little bit further because of the offset. It pushed it out of the wheel well a little bit more, which is good because it also provides a little extra clearance back here with the fender well. And when turning, I only scrape or grab a little bit of tread on the plastic fender liner, which I can just cut out as needed. That's not a big deal, but so far these things have been great. The one thing I did have to do, and before I talk about the issue that I had, these are gunmetal gray. I decided to go with these over the bronze just because I thought the gray was a little more subtle and would tie in nicely with the Go Fast Camper, which is also gray. So kind of more earthy tones there, but also matching. And the issue I had with these wheels and why I couldn't get them on as soon as I wanted to, or as quickly as I wanted to, was because of the lug nuts. I couldn't use my old lug nuts on this because the hole around where the lug nut sits is so narrow, but then also it's so pushed back that I couldn't get a socket around to be able to fully tighten them. So I ended up having to order some new lug nuts from SCS, and once they came in, wheels went on like a dream. So far, absolutely loving them, and we'll see how the tires do over time. Wear-wise, they're supposed to be really nice, but the wheels, I specifically went with these due to their weight being just about 18 pounds for the size that I went with, which was, again, 16x8 with a -25 offset. Now, suspension up front, I'm running, obviously, the most bright and colorful thing in there, the JBA upper control arms in that really not my favorite color, red, but I needed to get those to basically get a better alignment with the lift, which is about a 2.5 inch lift up front. That is due to these, that's a better angle there. These are Bilstein shocks with some adjustments on them that can go from stock height up to, I believe, 2.5 inch, depending on what setting you put them on. And then I'm running some Old Man Emu 2880 springs up front, and that gives me roughly a 2-inch lift up front. I'm not running any spacers on top of the coils or anything like that, so just spring over shock, and that's about a 2.5 inch lift up front. Now, the tougher part of this whole thing was definitely the rear end. That was a lot of fabrication. So right off the bat here, I'm running a Chevy 63 swap, which are leaf springs off of I think they're like late 80s through early 2000s Chevy 1500s. So I think that's like a half ton or 3/4 ton truck. And I'm running those leaf packs, which involved moving and welding new hangers, both front and rear, to get it to fit the longer 63-inch spring. So the front hanger also had to get moved and welded on to allow for the excess size of the Chevy 63s. So now that we've got this rain, I'm noticing that I have to pull these shackles off and paint them because they're starting to get some surface rust already. But these are 4-inch shackles with a 1/8 inch offset. And I was running 6-inch shackles with that came with my Chevy 63 swap kit from Low Range Off-Road. However, the 6-inch shackles just added a ton of extra, like they came out about there compared to the 4-inch. So that raised the back of the truck up a lot, as well as not having the most ideal angle for the shackles. Like right now, they're about 45 degrees, whereas before they were much more steep, closer to like 32 degrees. And I can actually take a reading just to check this. So I'm using just like a bubble level app on the iPhone, but if I put this on here, 44.5 degrees. So I think ideally you want to be at about 45 degrees for your shackle angle, and this with the 4-inch shackles gets me way closer to that. The 6-inch was just way too steep, pushed the back end of the truck up way too much. I'm actually kind of surprised that they do a 6-inch shackle and not maybe a 5-inch, but I guess depending on what Toyota truck you're installing them on, I guess it's probably different. So at least with the first gen Tacoma, you know, I won't get as much flex or flexibility from the leaf springs with the shorter shackle, but honestly, I think I was getting borderline too much with the 6-inch. And then like only running the 3 leaves in the back without the overload, this thing flexed so much. And which leads me to my next piece of, or issue, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, and I'm also not entirely on level ground, leaning this way, which kind of emphasizes probably more what I'm talking about. But I have what a lot of people are commenting, saying I have the Taco lean, which is, you know, everybody has a lean for every truck on the market. People say the Chevy lean, the Ford lean, the Tacoma lean, the Toyota lean. I don't know. It seems to me more like an easy way out. Like, I don't think a truck with all new suspension should be leaning, but basically a lot of people say that because the driver, the battery, the fuel tank is all on the driver's side, the added weight just compresses the driver's side more. However, you know, it puts supposedly more wear on the suspension on that side, but with brand new leaf springs, literally brand new, I took the entire front end suspension apart and swapped the sides for the coil and springs just to test that theory, to see if the one that is now on the passenger side, which was driver for about a year, if that one had just worn down a little more, and that's why it was sagging. And with the passenger side spring on the driver's side now, still has the lean. So I kind of don't necessarily believe that to be the case with the Taco lean. However, you know, maybe it's just something that you got to deal with and accept. Some people said you can put like a 1/4-inch spacer on top of your driver's side coil to level it out a little bit, although running any sort of puck spacer up there is not ideal for the shock and the spring. So maybe more so the shock, because it kind of puts added compression on that shock 24/7 instead of allowing it to operate through its entire length. However, I guess you either deal with it or you run a spacer, but I'm going to try and keep knocking things out to at least determine for sure that it's just Taco lean. So right now what I'm worried about is the lower control arm bushings I haven't touched on this truck since I've owned it. I'm sure they need to be replaced, and I'm wondering if there's some play in there and that's what's sagging one side of the truck. I mean, even a bad bushing might sag the truck 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch. So right now it's probably sagging closer between 1/2 inch and 1 inch to the driver's side. So not likely, but definitely something I want to replace anyways. And then the probably worst case scenario would be the frame of the truck is bent or warped. So that is causing it to sit a little funny. I do wheel this truck, so there's quite possibly the potential for the frame itself to be warped. You know, I had on my last wheeling trip, you guys can't see it, but the cross member that runs here hit down on a rock. And so there's like right about here, there's a little notch in it that got pushed up a little bit from the rock. So I would imagine, because it's not nearly as strong as the rest of the frame, that wouldn't warp the entire truck frame, and probably more likely the welds on it would start to crack and break before it actually warped the truck frame. But I'm playing devil's advocate here. After I do the control arm bushings, I may, if I'm still having the same issue, take it to a frame shop just to have them look at it and make sure it's still square. So hopefully that's not the case, because it sounds awfully expensive, but I just wanted to explain that a little bit. And, you know, people were saying that the awning, put it on the passenger side, that may shift the weight, but my awning weighs no more than 25, 30 pounds. So I can't imagine that that is causing the truck to sag by a whole inch on one side. So that's where I'm at with this. One other thing I forgot to mention as far as the suspension and the driveline and all that is I did run kind of like I think it was about a 1/4 inch spacer on the carrier bearing. I've since taken that off because now the truck sits a little more level like it would from the factory, as opposed to how it was sitting higher up in the rear before. So I actually took that spacer back out, and I think the driveline seems happier, less vibration. So, you know, it's coming along. I do need to put a new idle, what is it called? An idler pulley on this truck, because it's starting to whine a ton. So lower control arm bushings, new idler pulley, and trying to sort out this lean that I have going on. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I just wanted to put it out there, the new specs on the wheels and tires, as well as what suspension I'm running to get my lift. So the new 33s should be awesome. They're awfully quiet on the road so far. And yeah, let me know down in the comments if you guys have any suggestions as far as the addressing the taco lean, and if there's anything you guys may have in mind that I'm not thinking of that could cause that. So yep, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I love you all. Keep elevating, my friends. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more of this content. We've got some truck camping coming up, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep elevating. Adios.